Hey folks, thanks so much for coming back on to the FaciliCast and Liberal Science of Buildings. It's Jim Zerpel, and I'm pleased today to have Amy Sullivan. Amy Sullivan serves as the state Facilithon champion for the state of Wisconsin, the first state in which the Facilithon was run, along with Tony Lillibridge. Tony Lillibridge is from GSA, the Government Services Administration, if I'm correct about that. And he serves as our regional coordinator for Minnesota and Wisconsin and Michigan when it lights up. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, what you're doing and what you're involved in these days?
Yeah, so I have worked in the facilities field previously for about 5 years or so. And currently, like you said, I'm the chapter champion for Wisconsin for the Facilithon. I'm just very passionate about sharing the different job opportunities that exist for high school students so they have a good overview of all of that before they kind of have to jump into a decision in college or into a job in the real world.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And Tony, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Tony Lillibridge. I've been involved in the facilities world for a little over 30 years. Involved not only in running facilities, but also teach at a local university, and been avidly involved in Skills USA Facilithon for more than 10 years. It's a great program. It's a great way for us to get out the name, what is facilities management, and share with the next generation of facility managers what it's like to do our job, and hopefully get them interested in doing our job. Because I will tell you that right now, finding qualified facility managers is really hard. So Skills USA and Facilithon is a great lead into that.
Amy, you're taking on this role as being a state Facilithon champion. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so last year we hold the state conference in Wisconsin each year in the April-ish timeframe. We ran, I think it was 30 or 40 students through last year. We have at least their mid-30s signed up for this year to participate as well. And then we have our district and regional competitions, which are already complete. So those run in January and February across the state of Wisconsin. So we wrapped that up this year. And again, I'm looking forward to the state conference in early April.
Amy, why don't you talk about how the Facilithon runs, what it actually is for the student?
Yeah, so our students run through essentially a 3-part process for the Facilithon. So the first part of it is a 50-question quiz. It has questions that relate to the facilities world to kind of help them get into that mindset. So it's a multiple choice quiz that they run through. Following that, they are provided a scenario that tells them kind of who they are and what area they work in. So they could be a facility manager of a school building with a team, or maybe a grocery store or something. So it kind of gives them some context. They read through that and then have to provide us. They're also provided a scenario that takes place in that area. So then they provide us how they would react to that scenario. While they're in there talking to us, we then provide them a kind of emergency scenario as well. So they'll have 2 or 3 minutes to read through it, kind of thinking on the spot. And then they provide us how they would react again to that emergency scenario in the building and the role that they're in that situation.
That's really cool. Tony, you've experienced this as well for a great number of years. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the FM challenge or the emergency scenario that Amy was talking about?
So so after they complete the quiz, we bring them into an FM challenge situation, and typically we try to set these up in things that they're going to understand. So often we'll put them in the role of a superintendent of schools or something that they're familiar with. So they go to school every day and they're like, hopefully they recognize the building. So we can give them scenarios like, such as you're going to have a couple of events this weekend coming into your high school, and all of a sudden you're predicted with a foot of snow. What do you do? One of my favorite answers was snow blow the roof. I never thought that to be something to do, but hey, it's maybe not a bad idea with snow looks. But I thought it was a really interesting question. Again, the great thing about these assessments is there is no wrong answer. The answer is just to have a good train of thought and solve the problem. As you know, when we run facilities, we get faced with stuff every day, and we don't always make the right answer. We hopefully come close, but the right answer is a wide path. So we really allow that. We utilize a rubric, and we bring in experienced judges that have maybe hit something like this before. Maybe they've had a snow closure, or maybe they've had a door get kicked in, or something like that. Some of these scenarios that we actually go through. So the two great things are, one, we get to put the young people in front of a couple of professionals, which can be a little intimidating, but the good ones rise to the top. And two, they just get to use a rubric and have a little back and forth about what is what is linear thinking and what is the right way to do this. So that's what I really love. That's what Facilithon touches on. I mean, we do it in a couple different ways, but really we're talking about linear thinking, thinking on your feet, and realizing that there's resources out there. You just got to go tap and bring them back, and you make the right answer. And that's the right answer. Is just tap the resources, linear thinking, get to a solution, and be confident all the way through. That's a Facilithon answer.
I love that. So Amy, why don't you tell us a little bit about Wisconsin as a Facilithon state? Tell us about the ecosystem and what's involved there.
Yeah, so as I think you alluded to earlier, Wisconsin is the first state to run Facilithon. So we've been running for a number of years now. We are split into kind of three sections of the Skills USA conference season. Districts is the first, that's held at the high school. So kind of to get them thinking about the competitions. We tend to be there, kind of make sure students know that we exist, can run them through some test scenarios just so they get a little bit more familiar. We then run through the regional competitions. So those are held at tech schools or universities across Wisconsin. There's 5 or 6 of them normally each year scattered across the state. Students have a chance to run through we call it the Express Facilithon. So just slightly shorter version of the quiz and those challenge scenarios that Tony talked about to, again, get them used to what we're looking for. And then the state competition occurs every year in April. The last couple of years have been held at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison. So that's when the students come. If they're pre-registered with Facilithon, they do have the opportunity to compete, placed for first, second, and third. And then there are scholarships and chances to go to nationals associated with that. But we do really encourage, while we're there at state, running additional students through the quiz and the challenges just to get them used to it. So if they're interested in participating next year or find an interest in the field, that we're engaging them with that still, regardless of if they've registered or not.
What are the event dates for this next competition that's coming up?
Yeah, so the Wisconsin State Competition will be held April 9th and 10th at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison. The 9th is typically the day where students kind of get themselves set up. We do have a few volunteer spaces there to help us get our booth set up and run students through the quiz. And then Wednesday, the 10th, is really the big day that we look for volunteers. So that's a full day engaging with students, walking around, running them through the FM challenge portion. So we are definitely still happy to take volunteers for that day. So if anyone is interested, feel free to reach out to any of us or visit the FM Pipeline website. We do have an area there that you can sign up to be a volunteer, and we will reach out to you that way too.
Jim, I'd just like to follow on to that a little bit about volunteering. You're all qualified. Everyone's qualified to be a judge, and we'll pair you with a judge that's done this before. If not, hopefully, if not, you'll get paired with maybe Amy or I. And all it is it's common sense. Don't say, "Oh, I don't have experience in facilities management. I can't do this." Yes, you can. Because again, like we talked about, it's just thinking through a problem in a logical manner and making sure the students make eye contact with you. They speak appropriately. They're dressed appropriately. We'll give you all the tools you need to do this. And it's so much fun to see what the next generation brings out. So I highly encourage you, if you've got time, either in the morning, the afternoon, or all day on Wednesday, come out. Have a good time with us. It's very rewarding. So just a little plug to be a judge.
Got it. And if I were to volunteer, what happens after that?
Either Amy or I will reach out to you and get your information. Give you times that we're going to be there, whereabouts our booth is. The Alliant Energy Center is huge, so we'll get you in the right door. So typically our booth is right out on the front, so you can see us as you walk in. There'll be a big Skills USA booth sitting right there. From there, we'll assign you a task, whatever you're comfortable with, whether it's being a judge, whether it's proctoring the exam, which is really easy because it's all done on their phone. So all you have to do is just kind of be in the room and answer questions about that, and we can show you how that. I'll have my iPad there. I'm sure a couple of iPads will be there to kind of walk you through it. We'll let you take the quiz just so you can see how you would do on a 50-question, facilities management test. and then we'll get you into the judging. And judging is the most fun. And from a judging perspective, you'll be partnered with someone else. The student, as Amy said, will have a scenario that they'll prep ahead of time. They'll come in, they'll present it to you. They have a certain amount of time. You have a couple minutes to ask them questions. And then you get to surprise them with the FM challenge, which they get a couple more minutes to think about. And then again, you respond the answer. Total process for a judging, probably, we like to say it takes 15 minutes. It really probably takes closer to 20, just because by the time we get everybody through, it never goes as smoothly as I'd like it to, but it's still a lot of fun. Amy, what else do you have to add to that?
Yeah, and even if people are not available this April on those dates, we do still encourage you to sign up on our volunteer list. We keep that as a running list that we can reach out to then for additional events. If you're interested in being a part of the Facilithon at a higher level, coordinating things like that, and or being a part of the Wellhead program, which is where we're starting to engage companies with the high school students to get them into job shadowing programs and things like that. So there are volunteer opportunities beyond just the state program. So getting on that list is a perfect way to find out about that.
Can you talk about the Tuesday Judges Mixer?
Absolutely, absolutely. Certainly, there's some online training that's going on right now, and we can certainly put you in touch with to kind of run through what the judging process is. Again, I said it's really simple. But in addition to that, Tuesday night after we do our setup, kind of as a mixer, we're going to have a couple of the judges, a couple of the senior Faciliton members. We're going to meet at Licari's Tavern in Madison, probably 5:30, 6 o'clock, sometime about that. And again, any questions, certainly reach out to myself or Amy, and we can put you in touch with the actual details of that. Again, it's Licari's Tavern, and it's in Madison, not far from the Alliant Energy Center. And it'll just be kind of a social thing where other judges will be there. You can ask any questions, find out more about Facilithon and anything else you desire.
Again, we're always looking for more people to get involved. And as Tony said, you don't need to be an expert on anything. Even if you work with the facilities field and not directly in it, any of that experience is super helpful. So definitely reach out to any of us or visit the website to learn more and sign up as a volunteer and get engaged.
I understand that the Wisconsin State is now also running a VR version of Facilithon for students to experience. Tell me about that. Do you have anything on that?
Yeah. So at our booth, which you'll see up at the front end, we'll bring in a flat screen TV, and we've worked with some local companies, and they've developed a virtual reality facilities game for us. So literally, what you do, utilizing a joystick or an Xbox controller, you get to walk through a building and find Facilithon scenarios. And as you move your way through the building, get around the people, get out to the bathrooms, there's going to be an issue, and then you got to figure out what do you do with that issue. And again, it talks about the resources that you have and who can you get to help and things like that. And then you get to go out on stage, and you get to see a life safety issue. And there's like 4 or 5 different little issues that you can find within a building. Well, what's really interactive about it is you get to walk through the building virtually as you're experiencing these things. I'm not very good at it, but the guys that know how to use Xbox controllers, they fly through the game. So bring your Xbox controller expertise to it.
Yeah, and like Tony said, we really got good engagement from that beyond just a quiz or a piece of paper. It really kind of helps them put a real scenario to the things that we talk through and run them through. So I think it's been very well received from everybody.
Tony Lillibridge and Amy Sullivan as our Wisconsin Facilithon state champion. Thanks so much for coming on, and we'll look forward to seeing you on another FaciliCast, the liberal science of buildings.